Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be doing my 14.3 jungle tier list. There are a huge amount of changes, and as always, if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, and let's get into it. So the main kind of ones which I want to talk about here are Nidalee and then Brand Lilia. These three changes are really impactful on the jungle meta this patch, but let's cover Nidalee first. So Nidalee is a solid S tier option. This is even within mid-elo, which this tier list is mostly focused at. The E-buffs were huge. It makes her more useful later on into the game. It gives her a lot more power on buffing up carries. On top of that, makes her a bit more durable. She gains some base, she gains some armor growth as well, I believe. And all these changes together have made her really powerful. If you're rushing Lichbane on this champion, she is an S tier option. In an elite, she's overpowered and will probably be nerfed because of this, but Nidalee, solid S tier option. Shyvana is going to move up to my B tier. However, there is some dark tech on this champion, which involves Liandry's and Shojin. A Shojin rush into a Sorks and then a Liandry's works really well on this champion. The sample size is kind of low at the moment, but when you look at the build of Smolder, which is kind of doing something similar, but it does look to be a lot of power behind this. If you have 3 damaging abilities, then that also has a lot of power. So yes, Shyvana is a B tier option, but if you're going this tech, then there is a high chance she might find herself moving up towards the S tier. Maybe next patch, if people pick up on it. Maybe not, if people are still kind of sleeping on it. But there is definitely tech here. Do give it a try. Shojin into the Andrews. Shaco is going to move up into my S tier. So Shaco has both lethality and AP builds which are viable at the moment. They are both very strong and actually almost completely balanced against each other. In games where there are a bunch of squishy opponents, then lethality can work really nicely if you're looking for a bit more AD. If you're in need of AP and there are lots of tanks, you can opt into things like the Liandry's, and there is a lot of power on that build as well. He is definitely a lot stronger, he can clear faster, the box damage to monsters was really big on him, and yeah, solid S tier option, one of the best multi damage options if you're looking for either variant of build. Taliyah is going to move up to my A tier. She was at the high point of B tier. She is now a low point of A tier. The buffs didn't do a huge amount compared to what I believe they would have done. She definitely found a lot more power within mid lane. She's very much thriving in that role at the moment. But jungle Taliyah, solid A tier option. If you're running something like a Dark Harvest, you're a solo AP, or you're like a duo of AP, then it can be really powerful. The champion does a decent amount of damage. The Q buffs were really big on it. I believe Lunen's Companion is still just the way to go. You don't really have much of a build option. But yeah, solid A tier option. Good AP if you need it. Wukong is going to move up into my B tier. So Wukong received a couple of changes. The main one, of course, being the fact that he can, has a bit more range early on his Q. That was kind of the focus point of top lane. I believe he received some E cooldown changes as well, which benefited him within the jungle. I can't specifically remember the changes, but it has helped him here. He gained more power within jungle compared to top lane. Still struggles for the most part in both, like a B tier option. He is going to get some follow-up changes from what I've heard. But yeah, if you're looking for an AD option, I'd recommend other picks. But he's not the worst, especially after the buffs. So he's going to be within the B tier. Maokai is going to be towards the high end of the A tier. Well, he already was an A tier option. He doesn't suddenly jump up from his changes, but top lane and support are both OP picks at the moment for this champion. Jungle is the one where it kind of falls short, so it wouldn't surprise me if they do go after some of his lane or support power. Overall, Jungle Maokai, still a solid tank, one of the better options at the moment. Really easy to play, good damage, good durability. Yeah, not a bad champ, solid A tier pick. Brand is going to move down to the S tier. So Brand and Lilia. So Brand is going to move down to the S tier. Lilia is going to move down to the A tier. Brand lost a bit of power, not anywhere near as much as Lilia. Brand's changes were kind of on the small side. Lilia's changes, losing 10% AP ratio on like Q, stacks up to 20 if you're getting the outer edge, where it does double the damage and converts it into true. On top of that, she received some burn damage over time nerfs. The AP ratio went down on that as well. And overall, big power decrease. She finds herself towards the low end of the A tier, if anything, at the moment. Lost like 4% win rate or something. And Brand only lost like 2. He's still very strong, still clears really quickly, does huge amounts of damage in team fights. Solid S tier option. Towards the higher end of the S tier, if anything. But yeah. Another champ which got pretty heavily adjusted this patch was Rengar. He is now done in the B tier. Same as always with Rengar though, if you can pilot the champion well, he's like an S plus option. If you can't pilot the champion well, don't play it. He's more like a D tier pick. The main thing here is if you're playing Rengar, you have to go Hubris. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend playing this champion. He really needs the item to snowball, to take over games. Only play it if you're highly skilled on the champion. In mid elo, if you don't play the champion a lot, then there's just no point. Like, just don't play it. Practice it like with a normals or flex or something first, and then take it onto the Rift. Trundle is going to stay within the A tier. He got nerfed pretty heavily for top lane, though he was overpowered, so put him down to like the S tier. In the jungle, he stays as an A tier option. The health change doesn't really matter as much within the jungle. However, losing some clear speed value on that Q, going down by 10 damage at all ranks, definitely does hurt him. Just a bit less power and a bit less dueling capabilities, so he finds himself in the lower part of the A tier. I'd only really recommend using Trundle as like an anti-pit, like an anti-ram, or not anti-ram, I mean to a degree anti-Rammus pick if you're looking for just the stat drain and then you're good into the other options. As a standalone, it can be kind of iffy, but yeah, if you can drain a tank and you're into a lot of AD bruisers where you can get a lot of autos down and you can kind of steal their AD, there is power there in the champion, definitely, but lower down on the A tier picks. Graves is also around the lower tier of the A tier picks as well. He got nerfed pretty heavily, not directly, but indirectly through Youmu's being nerfed for ranged champions. This was a big hit for him. It hurts his mobility around the jungle. Imagine a champion losing like 5 to 10 movement speed. If you're thinking of like how big of a nerf that is, it really hurts his ability to stick to people. Yeah, just lots of power down there. And on top of that, Collector lost 5 AD, which is also a big nerf towards Graves. So he's found himself in the lower tiers of A tier. There might be some build variations I haven't checked where you might be able to go something like Opportunity first. It might be worth digging into that. But yeah, for the most part, he is definitely a lot weaker. Finding himself down in the bottom of A tier. Belveth is going to move up into the S plus tier alongside Yi and Eve. So Eve is an interesting one. After I made the video on 14.2b, I wrote in the comment section, like, Eve should have been in the S plus tier. I don't know why I didn't move this champion up. She is broken. She is the third, like, out of that trifecta, she was the AP assassin option. If you wanted to snowball and you wanted to do a huge amount of burst, she was great. Lichbane Rush, you just explode your enemies. But it's just as simple as that. But yeah, on a more serious note, Lichbane, Darkseal, Medjay, Rabadon, snowball throughout the game, close out games quickly because you can struggle later on into some more durable targets, and she's a great option. On the side of Yi and Belveth, both these champions really benefited from Kraken Slayer being buffed, so that was really powerful for them. Yi, you can go something like Kraken, Ginsu, Titanic Hydra. I believe Belveth is looking back at Stridebreaker as being a solid option for her. There is definitely power there. Stridebreaker is very strong. Wouldn't surprise me if they do nerf at this patch. But yeah, they're both really strong S plus options. It's good to see a slight shake-up, but they were already decent. Just better than the previous S plus tier. On the other side of things, Nocturne and Viego are up into my S tier. Nocturne, because of Stridebreaker being stronger, really benefits from this. If I don't think Nocturne should have been in the S tier, I'm not as big of a fan of this champion. I think it can be quite deceptive when this pick has a high win rate, as he is very much just a stat stick. You don't have much variety in what you can do, so it can be quite, he's very simple to play. That's mainly what I'm getting at. But yes, he's definitely stronger with Stridebreaker, so he's in the S tier. On Viego's side, really benefited from Sons of the Sky being changed, on top of Kraken Slayer being changed. He is a really good S tier option as well, towards the higher end of anything. The champ which is most likely to fall out of the S tier is Zac, if anything. Zac top lane, great pick, like an S plus pick. Zac mid lane, also like an S plus pick. Zac jungle, struggling a bit more. Would surprise me if they go after some Zac lane nerfs. But yeah, he's like a low S tier pick, high A tier pick. Still strong, one of the better tank options. Kindred and Kha'Zix. So, I wanted to talk about these two champs. They are definitely better. Kindred thriving off the Kraken Slayer changes. Kha'Zix thriving off some of the options which kind of punished him being weaker. Kha'Zix can really benefit from the likes of Youmu's, Hubris. I believe Profane Hydra works quite nicely on him as well. Gives him a lot of power. Kindred can also go things like Terminus, Wit's End if she wants to, and it has a lot of power on those kind of builds. Overall, large amount of changes in the jungle. A fairly nice meta shake-up, as seeing Lilia, Eve, Brand being picked in every single champ select was getting kind of boring. Of course, Eve's still very strong. I hope we do enough of this patch, on top of maybe a slight tap down to Kraken Slayer. Should be good. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.